After a long year of building my DIY extension, I'm about to fit the kitchen myself. But it doesn't go at all to plan. No, I've cocked up. But mistake or not, in this episode we'll battle through and we will get this kitchen installed. And at the end of this video you're going to find out what a DIY extension from start to finish costs. This last year, this DIY extension has cost me... Now we are going to finish this project in this episode. Doesn't look like it at the moment. So whilst the DIY Kitchen's delivery guys were bringing the boxes in, me and Chris started unpacking them, and then the first thing we're going to do is put the feet on and get a rough level before we stand them all in place. We're just getting our legs somewhere close first, so what we've done, popped them in, and we know that the plinth that we want to put in here is 150, but we're going to go an extra 6mm to account for the floor. Because we laid our floor first, we're cutting our floor around our feet, but what we'll do is we'll go around once they're all set out and in position, and then we'll tweak them with the laser. And once we've got all the legs on the carcasses, we put the units in position so that we can do a bit of setting out and check that they actually fit where we planned originally. So we're getting there. We've laid out quite a lot of this now. We've just got to level these up. We're cutting the feet around the floor. We've got a corner in the position we think we need. So we're nearly there with this wall. Then we're going to start going that way. We've just got this last larder unit to go in. But I think I cocked up, I'm going to be honest. I think you can probably all see what the problem is. So when we were putting the beam in, we read on the sheet that it was 1970 larder unit height. What do you think I did? I forgot the legs. Look what it's going to hit. I can't get my larder unit in. So the only way, and it's not going to look as good, I'll be honest, is to put an 800 base in there and then cut that round the pillar. It's not great. It will look okay once it's done. I'm going to put 800 rather than 700 because I think that'll look more purposeful. If I bring this tight, I think it'll just, it's just not going to look nice. That is the problem when you're trying to order a kitchen before you've even got a structure finished and built. Sometimes you just make these mistakes. It is what it is. Hold my hands up to it, we got to get round it. So that's a lot of the setting out done. We've been really lucky because this is mostly a new build with newly plastered walls. There's not been much scribing or adjustments to make on the backs of the cabinets. If you have trouble with this bit, sometimes you have to scribe out the service areas to make things line up nicely, but this should be perfect. So now we're confident that everything is in the right position, we can start to fix some stuff in place. You'll see I've done this corner one. It's important to start in one corner and do one wall first. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm using space plugs. I'll show you how they work in a second, but the first thing we need to do is be critical with the level now, because earlier we just set the feet roughly, but now we want to make sure it's absolutely bang on. That includes unit to unit as well. And then we fix the cabinet to the wall with these space clips. You adjust the depth of the space clip to suit your cabinet, pop them down the back there, and then you drill through and into the wall before putting a plug in. And that'll be less fiddly than trying to use an L bracket to get a solid fixing into the wall. Now these are brilliant. The only watch out with them is sometimes if you've not scribed the back of the cabinet properly or the wall's a little bit out, you could kick the bottom of the cabinet out, pick the top up, and it could be unlevel. So just have to check. Now that cabinet's fixed in. Before we level and connect the next one, I'm just going to connect these two cabinets together, stick a fixing through somewhere inconspicuous. Normally I like to go behind hinges, but there are no hinges because this is a pull-out bin and a drawer. So we'll probably hide one just up here somewhere. And then I'll use the fixing supply to nip the two cabinets together. And then a couple of days later, our replacement 800 cabinet arrived, and I've cut that around the shape of the wall. Once our larder units were also in place, we started to install some of the end panels, and we did that by fixing them through with a screw. Now these won't be visible because there's an integrated fridge and freezer going in these end two larder units. It's coming together. It's coming together, finally coming together. All of our cabinets are in. Now we just got to trim the tops with some little plinths, nice modern plinths, and we've got to get the wall cabinets in. But of course, before we managed to get them wall cabinets up, senior management, Mrs. DIY, wanted the oven and microwave to be put in first. So we popped them in, and then let's get on with these wall cabinets. Now this one is just a case of a lot of setting out, because you don't want to get this wrong. We've popped the first one up to figure out how to do these little level and brackets ourselves, because we've never done ones like this, so we know how to do it now, so we can show you guys. Now these type of things, you're best to always look at the instructions because they're probably going to be slightly different. These ones from the outer edge of our cabinet there, we need to mark 27mm along from that cabinet there. So 27, so you can see 27 mil to our first hole from the edge of the cabinet. So I've marked that, and then you get these little brackets. You just have to snap them in half, and that's either side of the cabinet. Now the way we need to fix these to the wall is a specialist way to do it because it's a dot and dab wall, it's hollow. So we need to fix into the block behind the plasterboard. So we've got a solution, and that is Core Fix Connect. So this is a big plug that goes into the block behind the plasterboard. Then we've got a metal core. Now the core bridges that gap I was talking about, so you don't get destruction on the plasterboard. Transfers all the load through that core onto our bracket and into the block rather than the plasterboard. So the cabinet will hold incredible amounts of weight and never fall off the wall. I've been using these for, I reckon, about 7 years for heavy applications, radiators, cabinets, all that sort of thing. On plasterboard walls, they've never failed me. So we're going to go with these. There'll be a link to these in the description below. With a bit of luck, they'll hook on somewhat easily, which that has. Right, so DIY Kitchens sent a little care package and some Yorkshire tea and a flapjack, but I think we need more than tea. But no, we're getting there, it's going all right. We're going to fix these ones together now with some connectors, mark out for the hood to make sure we get it bang in the middle, and then pop the end cabinet up. They're not too bad at all, to be fair. You've probably noticed that green laser level running through my bracket line. Now that means that if we put every bracket on that laser line, we can't be off. They will all be perfectly level. I use my Hupar laser level. This is one of the best laser levels on the market to do exactly that. I like them because they're cheaper than other top tier lasers, but they're jam-packed with the same quality components. So if you're after a decent laser level for your project, there'll be a link to this one down in the description. We've got to finish the end panels on there. You'll see that shortly, but before we do that, we've just set the hob. No, we haven't. We've just set the extractor out so that we can use the template which AEG supplied. These are all AEG appliances, really nice stuff. And then all we're going to do is we're going to use the template, drill the holes, and it's pretty simple to fix it all up. Right, end panels, that is the last bit. Well, the little modern plinths that go around there, you can see we've got them clamped on and dummied up, but ignore those for now. You'll see how those go on in a minute. End panels, whether that be bases or walls, always going to need scribing in. That's never going to be absolutely perfect. You can see, if you look here, this is where the plinth, this is where the door's going to sit, and your end panels want to be flush with your doors. We need to take, what's that, 10 mil out of the back of that end panel. So you can see I've stuck a bit of tape down there. It's just clamped on there, it's nice and level. And here's a great little tool called the Easy Scribe. I'll pop one of these in the description because these are brilliant. You're going to want to pick one of these up. You just set the depth on that little wheel there. You can see, don't know if you can see, but I've got that set to the front of the door. So that's the amount I want to take off. No matter if the wall's got lumps and bumps, if you've got humps in the wall, slopes in the wall, we know that's the amount we need to take out, and this will follow the wall and scribe it into the back of the cabinet. We just cut it out. Now this one that Chris has got there, that is fortunately a pretty straight line, so we're just going to use the track saw. That's a quick way of scribing the back out of that one. Some of them you don't get that lucky, so this one over here did have a hump in the middle of the wall very slightly, so we had to use a plane just to create a slight shape to that one. But this one's nice and easy. Feels absolutely spot on there. And that is now cut, scribed to size. All we're going to do now is screw it with a few screws hidden behind hinges on the inside to hold it there. We then put the modern plinths on, clip the doors on. Of course they'll need a little adjustment, but ta-da, there we go. That is the wall cabinets finished. But tomorrow the guys are coming to template for the stone worktop, so everything needs to be in place that impacts that. Part of that is this breakfast bar area that's going in this corner. Ignore our old temporary oven, still wired in very roughly. I'll sort that later. But yeah, we need to get some battens on the wall in line with a leg or corner post for the breakfast bar, because that's going to come with a rounded corner around this corner here and fill that area there. So we need to get some battens on the wall next. So the guys are here to template for the worktops. They use a laser system to create different points and create a CAD drawing over the top so that they can go away and cut the stone so that it's absolutely perfect when it arrives and it'll look really smart. So Ben here from Natural Stone Surfaces, give him a wave, Ben. He's done his template, and what that does is produces, hopefully you can see that there, a CAD drawing for the guys, not only for us to see it, but for them to cut our worktops so that they can come and install them. Finishing touches, we're getting there. We need to get the plinth vents in for the integrated fridge and freezer, and you can see we're already starting to get some handles on. Now we're getting there. We are getting there. The guys have gone away to cut the worktop. Now at the end of this video, we're going to do a final cost update. We started this a year ago. It's taken a year to build this extension. What a journey. There's been ups and downs, as those of you that have followed will know. It's been an epic adventure, and I'm going to tell you how much this all cost me at the end. There's only one bit in so far, but already it's transformed it. Look how nice they look. I'm well chuffed for that. If you remember back to the episode where we went to DIY kitchens, where I chose that worktop, I was impressed with it there, but now it's in place, different ball game. Looks absolutely incredible. So the guys have got the worktops in now, and because of the length of them, what's the maximum length of the tops?
About 3.2, I think.
It's 3.2. So obviously we've had to have a join. The joins have been put in nice sensible locations, and then they use an epoxy to join them so we get a nice seamless joint. And finally, the breakfast bar is going in on them battens that I installed earlier. Finishing touches now. We're getting close to getting this kitchen done. The tiling's got to be done. Going to do that in a separate video though, because loads of people have asked for a guide on splashback tiling, so we're going to go over that in a separate video. But yeah, we're getting close. Now the kitchen's actually done, but before I reveal it to you, we need to get the outside rendered. It's been a couple of months throughout the winter, and I'm getting some guys to come in and do the rendering for me. Now I've said previously in this extension DIY series that you can't do everything. Sometimes you have got to get a bit of help, and I don't believe that I could get a good finish, and after spending a year building this thing, I don't want it to look rubbish right at the last hurdle. So I've got some guys to come in and render it. I'll show you how they get on throughout the process, and then we'll do the final reveal. That is a base coat for our top coat to go onto. I wouldn't be picking that colour, and that just makes sure it doesn't crack and that the top coat's got something good to go onto. You can then see by these trims the final thickness. You got about 10 mil there of top coat to go on top of that, and you're about to see what that colour is. So the guys are done, and they've done a fantastic job, so it's time for the big reveal. So after a year's work, are you ready for it? So what do you think? I'm really pleased with how it's come out. Let me know what you think in the comments, but it looks great on the outside. It looks a lot better than what it used to with that horrible conservatory, if you remember right back to the start. What a change. I'm really pleased with it. Now inevitably we have created ourselves a building site, a mud pit, so I think you can probably guess what I'm going to be doing this summer. So there it is, my DIY kitchen is finished, and well, it looks as good as it did in the showroom. Now I'll never hide anything in terms of sponsorships from you. This video was sponsored by DIY Kitchens, and I did get this £22,000 kitchen, so that's what a premium kitchen like this would cost you. I did get that for this video. They didn't pay for the video, but they did supply the kitchen for the video, just to be completely open and honest. But I am lucky in the job that I do. I did have other options, and you know, I went down to DIY Kitchens, I looked at the kitchen, looked at the quality, and that is why I went with these guys. So big thanks to them, and the link to their website is in the description. So now the bit you've all been waiting for. Was it worth it? And how much did it cost? Well, yes, it was worth it, because this extension probably would have been somewhere in the region of 70, maybe 80,000 pounds if you were to pay someone to do it. So this has taken me a year, and get ready for it. This DIY extension has cost me between 27 and 29,000 pounds, but it's taken its toll. And if you've got a full-time job, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I'm in the lucky position, thanks to you guys, and thank you very much for watching the channel. While we're on that subject, I'm in the lucky position that I get to do this as a job, and that means that I do get the time to do it. But it's still been hard. I have other projects on, I've got other things to film. But it's extreme DIY, and it's been fun to bring it to you. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed it. It's been amazing, but it's very, very hard. So bear that in mind if you want to give a DIY extension a go. I'm an advocate for learning new skills, helping you to learn new skills. Hope I've done that, and hope you've enjoyed this video and this whole series. And guess what? There is another extension to come in the future, and some more huge projects. So stay tuned for what's to come. See you in the next one.